Hello, I'm Martin Hoover, District Administrator for Little League California District 49. This presentation will talk about the local league election procedures that should be followed by the local leagues in the high desert. This presentation is based on information gathered from A Year in the Life of Hometown Little League, as published by Little League Baseball International. The first item that we must discuss is who can vote and be elected at the annual meeting of the membership. This annual meeting is required and must be held by each league once every year for the purpose of electing a board of directors. Little League Baseball requires two types of members. The first type of member is a regular member. A regular member is any adult that is actively interested in furthering the objectives of the local league. Some leagues require regular members to pay yearly dues to the local league. These are not included in the player registration fees a league might require at the start of the baseball or softball season, and membership fees must be collected separately. All officers, board members, committee members, managers and coaches, volunteer umpires, and other elected or appointed officials must be regular members in good standing with the local league. The second group of required members are player members. These are players who actively participate in the local league program. They do not have any rights, duties, or privileges in running the local league, and they do not participate in the annual meeting. Local leagues have the opportunity to include other classes of membership. Honorary members are elected unanimously by the board of directors, but like player members, have no rights, duties, or privileges in the operations of the league. This class of membership is usually reserved for dignitaries or individuals who have served a long period of service to the local league program. Sustaining members are individuals who make contributions to the local league program, but do not qualify for regular membership. And you guessed it, they too have no input in the operations of the local league. For the purpose of this presentation, when I mention members, I'm talking about regular members in good standing. So what are some major mistakes a local league can make about membership? The first and most important one is to define membership as the parents of every player in the local league. Just to show you how out of control this would turn out to be, let's assume a league of 200 players has stipulated in their constitution that the parents of every player qualify as members. Now, assuming that every player has two parents and that no two players have the same parents, that would total 400 members. Even if the league were using the lowest quorum standards of 1/5, 80 members would still be required to conduct business and to elect a board of directors. This situation also runs the risk of placing individuals at an advantage over others. For instance, what if I was a parent who had 3 players in the league? Would I get 3 votes? And what if I was a single parent? I wouldn't get the same representation as a 2-parent household. So as you can see, it's easier when a local league looks at membership on an individual basis instead of a player-parent basis. A question we get asked a lot is, when does my membership begin and end? The answer is very simple. Membership usually runs from annual meeting to annual meeting. Now, I know this might sound strange at first, but the roles of membership must be voted on at every annual meeting by the membership. But why does the membership vote on themselves? Well, in essence, they're not. For example, I become a member of High Desert Little League, who has an annual meeting every September. Now, if I want to become a new member, I have to fulfill the requirements of becoming a member. Once I fulfilled those requirements, I must wait until the annual meeting to be elected. As a member, once elected as a member, I hold membership until the next annual meeting, when the membership votes and elects the membership for the following year. Regular membership can be terminated at any time during the regular year by act of resignation or by removal. Prior to the election, all members must be notified in writing at least a minimum of 7 days' notice. Little League also recommends 10, 14, or 21 days' notice prior to the election. In the written notice, the date of the meeting, time, and location must be included. While leagues are encouraged to conduct this process by mail, local leagues can also deliver the notice of the annual meeting personally to members or electronically. It is also recommended that leagues post the notice in a public place, such as the snack bar window, community bulletin board, or any other public locations. Shown here is the notice of election for High Desert Little League. Notice that it has provided ample time to notify the member of the meeting. It also gives the date, time, and location of the meeting, and then it also provides contact information for members who cannot make the meeting but wish to vote. This process is called absentee balloting. There is an old practice that is no longer recognized called proxy voting. In proxy voting, someone would represent the absent member at the meeting and vote in their place. In the past, this practice has led to corruption and rigging of the election. Absentee balloting is now the preferred method of accommodating a member who cannot make the annual meeting. If a member knows that they will be absent, they can contact the league secretary. The secretary shall provide them with an absentee ballot that has plenty of empty spaces to allow for the maximum number that could be elected to the board of directors. This is because the membership must set the number of members elected to the board at the annual meeting. Shown here is an absentee ballot from High Desert Little League. Notice how there is enough spaces to accommodate the maximum number of members that can be elected to the board. Once the ballot is completed, the member returns it in a sealed envelope, in person, to the league secretary. It is a common misconception that the member must sign the ballot or the envelope. However, that is a myth, as the member has every right of having a secret ballot submitted. On the date of the annual meeting, the first thing the membership must determine is if a quorum is present. A quorum is a constitutionally mandated minimum number of members that must be present or represented by absentee ballots for the annual meeting. Local leagues have the option of using a 1/3, 1/4, or 1/5 quorum requirement to determine if a quorum has been established. If there is not enough representation, no business or election can be conducted. Another question we get asked is, what quorum threshold should our local league use? Well, it all depends on the need of your local league. Let's use High Desert Little League for example. High Desert Little League has 63 regular members in good standing at the time of the annual meeting. If we were to use the 1/3 threshold, 21 members would have to be present. If our league were to use the 1/4 threshold, only 16 members would have to be present in our annual meeting. It just so happens that High Desert Little League's constitution says they have to use the 1/5 threshold. In this instance, only 13 members must be represented. We recommend you check your local league constitution to see what quorum threshold your local league must abide by. Now, once the membership has determined a quorum is present, their next order of business is to select an election chairperson. This person can be a current board member or just a member of the local league. Another common misconception is that the local league president runs the annual meeting. Well, that's correct to a certain extent. In practice, the president would call the meeting to order, determine a quorum, then announce to the membership that an election chairman needed to be selected. From there, it is up to the membership to select their election chairman. A member should motion for someone to serve, and this motion requires a second. Once that is done, the president puts it to a vote of the entire membership, not just the board of directors. If the motion carries, the election chairperson runs the annual meeting until the new board is elected. Keep in mind, the league president can be selected as the election chairperson, but it is recommended that another person serve in that position. If the motion does not carry, meaning that it is not approved, another motion for a chairperson must be taken from the membership and the process repeated until someone is selected. The first duty of the election chairperson is to elect the new membership. We discussed this earlier in our presentation. This is the point of the meeting where the old membership votes on the new membership roll. Those members who did not meet the qualifications of membership are removed from the roll, and those individuals who did meet the qualifications of membership are elected to the membership. The league secretary should read out the names of the membership, and once completed, the election chairperson asks for a motion and a second to elect the membership. Once again, this matter is taken to a vote with the entire membership, not just the board of directors. After the election of the members, the membership must determine how many individuals will sit on the board of directors. Little League International requires at least 7 board members, but some leagues have elected upwards of 15 to 20 directors on a board. The election chairperson asks for a motion and a second to set the number of positions on the board of directors. Once again, this vote takes place with the entire membership, not just the sitting board of directors. Next, the election chairperson calls forward the nomination committee. This committee should have met previously, within the previous 3 months at most, to canvass possible candidates who would be willing to serve on the board of directors. Keep in mind that nominations should not be by position. This is done later in the meeting by the newly elected board. The chairperson of the nominating committee should read the names of those individuals willing to serve on the board of directors. Keep in mind it is good practice for the committee to make sure that those individuals they are nominating wish to serve before announcing their nomination list. Once the nomination committee has completed, the floor is open for nominations. At this point, any member can bring forth a nomination that wasn't included on the nominating committee's recommendation list. There is no need for a second during the nomination process, and any time during the floor nominations, a member can rise to decline the nomination. It is perfectly okay for an individual to nominate themselves. Nominations continue until a motion is entertained by the membership. It requires a motion and a second and must be voted on to close the nominations. Once nominations are closed, the election chairperson should ask for a couple of volunteers to help with the balloting. Every regular member receives 1 ballot. Voters will list the names of eligible candidates in the number previously determined by the membership. With High Desert Little League, the membership has determined that there would be 12 positions on the board of directors. So members should only list up to 12 names. It is okay for members to list fewer than 12 names, but not for more. Once the balloting is completed, the election chairperson and the few volunteers helping with balloting should retire to a secluded area to count the ballots. Nominees must receive at least 51% of the vote in order to be elected. Also, it is a requirement of Little League Baseball to have 1 manager and 1 volunteer umpire on the board of directors. In High Desert Little League, 14 members cast their ballots. There were a total of 15 candidates for 12 positions on the board of directors. Every ballot included 12 names, and there were no discrepancies. So for High Desert Little League, a candidate must have at least 8 votes to be elected. In this example, the chart in green shows the 12 members who were elected to the board of directors. All of them received over 51% of the vote. The chart in purple shows 2 individuals who surpassed the 51% threshold, but did not receive a higher percentage of votes than their opponents. These 2 individuals were not elected to the board of directors. Then, in red, we have poor Alfie. Alfie only received 50% of the vote and did not reach the 51% threshold to be elected to the board of directors. Once completed, the election chairperson announces the newly elected board members, and the membership votes to certify the election. This is done by a motion and a second to certify the election results, and is voted on by the entire membership. The new board of directors will meet to elect from amongst themselves positions on the board of directors. Little League Baseball requires that you have 7 specific board members, though many leagues have added positions to their board of directors in addition to these required positions. The required positions that Little League Baseball asks are president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, player agent, safety officer, information officer, and coaching coordinator. Other positions are created by the membership as well as their duties and responsibilities. Once the positions of the new board of directors are established, the new board will set the meeting dates for the upcoming year. The new president adjourns the meeting, and the annual meeting is complete. This concludes our presentation. For more information, please visit the Little League Baseball California District 49 website for any activities and events that are upcoming. You can visit our website by visiting www.ca49.org.